So that will help me out an awful lot as we go along. So without any further ado, let us jump into our video today, my productivity secrets. See you on the other side of the video. My productivity secrets. I'm going to give everything away now. There'll be no secrets between us after you learn all of my productivity secrets. So today I want to kind of go over three things, talking about the tools, because everybody wants to know how to choose the right tools. And that's how we promoted this webinar, is how to make the right decision on your productivity tools and your productivity system. So we're going to talk about choosing the right tools, how to make the right decision, how to build the right system. Not, the tools all have to become part of a system, and so we have to take that into consideration. So we'll talk about that perspective and how we make it all work, my secret recipe to bringing it all together. Now, before we dive into it, though, I have to kind of have a bit of a qualifier and share that with you, is that I'm kind of like the shoemaker's kids in my own personal productivity. Because I use so many different tools, I'm always evaluating and looking at and trying to figure out stories for the channel on how different tools work. I'm in a constant state of chaos in my own personal productivity system. Now, I make it all work, but that is the case for me because I use so many different tools. Having said that, there are areas of our business, of dottotech, where I make sure that I don't mess around. I don't try a lot of different tools out. We build systems that work for us creating our videos. And that, when we go to the examples, when I show you how we actually build out our systems and how we take the tools that we've decided on and make them work for us, we'll be using our own production productivity system as a sample because it works like a fine crafted Swiss watch. We've got people all over the world with us, 4 of us that work together here on dottotech, and the systems that we put in place allow us to work very seamlessly and elegantly together. And we'll touch on some of those when we look at the examples. So let's begin. Let's begin by talking about the tools, because that's one of the, I know we're all interested in and anxious about making the right decision for different tools. And this goes beyond productivity. This is any tools that we use in the online space, choosing things from CRMs to choosing what web host to use, choosing what calendar app to use in the productivity space, or what note-taking app, or what word processor. We always have these decisions that we have to make. What appointment scheduler? We have so many decisions that we have to make, and we are anxious about making the right one. So what can I teach you? What can I share with you that helps you make the right decision? The first thing that you need to consider is not just the tool and the capabilities of the tool, but the company behind the tool. This is the kind of the dark underbelly of the SaaS, software as a service model, is that we don't necessarily know what that company's about. You know, back in the day when we had to choose between WordPerfect or Microsoft, we chose between company cultures, we chose between layout, we chose between office suites and tools that they worked with. We chose, heck, back in that day, I guess you could choose along religious lines if you wanted, but there were defined things that you could make decisions on that app because you knew what the companies were about. The companies wanted to build and sell more of their product to you and build their following and make it bigger. When you go and you look at a productivity tool today, you don't know what that company wants to do. You don't know what their business objectives are, especially ones that we get to try out for free. You know, what do they want me as a customer, or do they want me as part of their product? Do they want to sell to me and make a revenue stream from me paying them on an ongoing basis? Or do they want to acquire me as an asset to make their company more appealing to somebody else downstream? And does that mean that we could see a profound change in the product that I've now come to rely on? Case in point would be Sunset Calendar, this wonderful calendar app that many of us grew to know and love and use, but we were the product, not our cash going to them, and they acquired us as an asset, then sold us to Microsoft. And Microsoft killed the Sunset Calendar, and we were left high and dry. And that's the decision. So in the modern world, we have two stress points in choosing their tools. We have to choose the tool that's going to do the job technically, But then we also have to make the right life decisions, like getting married. What are our prospects with this particular partner? So we are actually picking partners, not products, as we go ahead. And now the cool thing is if you choose the right partner, you can pretty sure that the product will evolve properly, and because you'll have input into it as a customer, you'll have input into it, and you'll get a sense for what the community is doing, and products will evolve to do the job. Plus, your own systems can evolve. But if you choose the wrong company, you could be left high and dry. That's where the danger lies in choosing any app or any tool that we go to purchase. And I get into a lot of online conversations with individuals, especially in the YouTube group and in the Evernote group especially. People complain about Evernote charging what they charge for their product. And I always say, I'm glad Evernote's charging maybe too much, because it means that their heart's in the right place. They want to make money from me. They just don't want me as an asset. And I want Evernote to be around because it's part of my productivity solution. I don't want it being sold to somebody else and changing, because then if it goes away, I'm screwed. Well, I'm not totally screwed. I mean, I'll recover. But I don't necessarily want to go through that catharsis. I don't want to make that change. So that is something. So in your research, as you look at the tool, you try the free trial, you got to figure out, well, what's their model for charging? Does it look like it's good? Does their marketing sound like they just want to get me in at any cost, or they want to get me on as a good customer? You've got to measure it. And there's probably no place that you can go for a surety on this. You can certainly check the online forums, and you can listen to the rumor mill, and you can go to their Facebook group and ask questions and stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to kind of go with a little bit of a gut feel. And take a chance when you actually, there's always going to be risk involved. Okay, so that's kind of, we're right now at the 30,000 foot level, kind of looking at making these general decisions. When I go to build a productivity system, I mean, obviously you look at the features. You look at the features of the tools that you're involved in. They have to do what you want. But when I make my final decisions for our core products, for the ones that we use, and for most of us, it's going to be for any product. As I make decisions, I look to do a few things. And when I'm stuck, when it's close here and close there, I come back to a couple of things. The first thing I come back to is less is better. The less places that I have to go to do something, the better off I am. Now, a lot of products try and be all things to all people. We see, especially in the productivity space, we've seen a lot of products, some of which have crashed and burned, that try and be everything from your email to your calendar. I mean, Microsoft Outlook is a prime example. It tried to be everything for us, and it does work to a certain extent. So having less places, less touch points, less places for things to break or things to get lost is better for us. So that's one of the reasons that I say, you choose you go with a single notebook or a single task manager app. You don't have, some people say you could use one task manager for personal and one for business. I'd rather have them both combined into a single task manager, and same with my calendar app. I'll have my business calendar and my personal calendar, but both inside of Google Calendar so that they're both unified there. I don't want them in two different places. So less is better. Consequently, I lean towards ecosystems. We did a webinar just a few weeks ago on the Google ecosystem and talking about the value of ecosystems. Nowhere is that more evident than in the fact that if you have a single place to go, all of your data, all of your information, all of your responsibilities are housed under one roof, and the chances are greater that nothing will get lost. That you will indeed manage to execute all of your responsibilities if they're all in the same place. But that's not always possible. Ecosystems don't necessarily have what I call anchor tools, the tools that you need that really make your business hum. And for me, the tools that make my business hum, well, the ecosystem I use is Google, but the three anchor tools are Evernote, Asana, and Slack. Data warehousing and storage, note-taking, catch-all for all of my research, Evernote. Asana, which is not just a task manager, but we use for managing entire projects. It's our task and project manager, both personal and business. And Slack, our communications channel, how we communicate. Now, as you look and as you put together, and I'm not proselytizing for these tools in this webinar today. It does, because I'm not positive, as you'll hear when I wrap things up. I don't know that I made the best choice on any of those, but I made the right choice on them, and I will talk about that in a few moments. But part of the decision-making process that I went through on adding those other layers, Evernote was kind of where it started. Evernote and Google was always there a little bit, but was attaching Asana and Slack, was they dovetailed with Evernote, and they worked complementary to Evernote, so I could build my entire system integrated, and so that one would lead into other. Now, ironically, Evernote really isn't that big a part. Evernote tends to be much more personal for me than team-based tool as we end up using it, but it still had to fit kind of in that way. So as you build out your complementary tools to your anchor tools, you've got to make sure that those complementary tools will work with your anchor tools. So whenever I look at any app, anything that anybody shows me and they talk to me about, just out of habit, I look and see, does it work with Evernote? Does it, can I use it with Asana? Does it fit in with Slack? Is there a tool in the marketplace that makes it work and integrate with Slack? And if it does, then the chances are better that it's going to be more seamless for me to integrate that tool with my own personal productivity system. Now, what I'd like to do now, I don't want to go too long because I know we're going to have lots and lots of questions. I want to take you in and I want to walk you through the implementation and how we end up making sure that we're making the right decision as we choose any product, as we're evaluating it, and maybe not even evaluating in the first weeks that we use a product. So the one that I'm going to show you is Asana. In January of 2017, we implemented Asana business-wide. And it was as we were making some profound changes to the dottotech brand and to what we were delivering ourselves. And that year, in 2017, we concentrated on building Webinar Wednesday into a real force within our business. And so as we were changing our media mix, as we were changing our content mix, we also changed our systems, and we started to build them around Asana. And at the same time, it was really good timing, because at the same time, Asana had just released some new interface tools that really made it work for us. At the beginning of this year, we've layered on a much more aggressive publishing schedule, and Asana has grown, and how we use Asana has grown. And I'm going to take you into it right now, and I'm going to show you how we use the tool, a little bit about how we use the tool. But this demo is not really about how we use the tool so much as how the tool has evolved and the process that I've gone through in using the tool to get to where we are today. So this is my Asana, or our Asana account. Now, Asana is a team-based task manager, which kind of can expand into the project management phase. We're still using the free version here at dottotech. We will probably upgrade at some time in the not too distant future to the paid version, but the free version works very well for us even now. You can have up to 30 people on it. But this is the board view of Asana. Now you can manage Asana either through the classic, task list metaphor, or through this board metaphor, which makes it much more like Trello. Oops, I moved across. Which makes it much more like Trello, because we have all of our different tasks listed out here as individual kind of index cards. And then if we go into any one of those index cards, we can see all of the detail of what's in that card, all of the different tasks, and the people that those tasks are assigned to. And so this interface, when I looked at it, I recognized this is perfect for creating to-do lists and to creating, a card that would contain all of the tasks that have to happen in creating a webinar, or creating a course for that matter, or especially for creating videos as we move along. And so this was the beginning. Now, Asana wasn't designed to allow people to publish videos. It's a task manager, and it basically manages tasks. So we had to kind of layer on our own systems over top. And it was through experimentation, discovery, curiosity, that it became the system that works for us today. And this is kind of the heart of how you make the right decision. You find a good tool that meets the criteria that I was talking about earlier. As far as trying to find one that, you're not the product, but the product is the product that they're selling. So you have some security as far as the future of the product, that does the things you want, that is robust so that you have as few touch points as possible, that integrates with the other tools. Once you found that tool and you start to use that tool, you've made the right decision. And how you assure that's the right decision is you do what I have done here and what we have done here at dottotech, is you dive in and you master the use of that product and make it work for you. You find every little feature about it, you discover the ways that it works best for you, and you work your way through and you make your decision the right decision by making it the right decision, by mastering the product. And then even if you've chosen a product which is in some ways inferior to another one, it doesn't matter because it is going to serve your needs. It's not about, we don't have a stopwatch on this. There's not a score that's being kept. The only thing that matters with your productivity system is if you're getting the done that you have to get done. Excuse my language. I just made this, it might be the first time I've ever sworn on one of our webinars. But that's what matters. Does your productivity system help you get the stuff done that you need to get done? And if it does, winner, winner, chicken dinner, you've done your job. You've made it the right decision. It does what it's supposed to do. So at that point there, you can stop with the angst and stop worrying about if you made the right decision and looking at other products and worrying about features and benefits from other products, because you can make this tool work for you. And here's how we did it, is I recognize that there's all of these columns that we have where we can create all of our, where we obviously that each of the index cards lives under, each of the project tasks basically lives under, the master tasks live under. So I, created one for production and one for published work and an archive and one, for ideas. So it didn't all start out with this. It started out at the beginning with, we just had a list of videos that we were working on. And every time we created a video, I would do this. I'd go task, new task. There we go. You create a new task, and in that task, there's nothing. There's no due date. There's no assignments. There's no description. It doesn't have any tags. It has no reference. It's just a blank sheet of paper. And I would start saying, okay, what do we have to do to create the video? First of all, Steve has to record the video. So record videos. And I would put that in, and I would assign it to myself here, because you can assign it to individuals, and there's Steve. And I would set a date for that, and it's going to be 2 weeks from now I have to do this video, and I maybe write a description of the video, and then I would go through and I would basically build out what was happening in every video. Well, this was stupid. This was way too much work to do each time. Although it would be fine, but it was too much work. So I stopped doing that. I'm going to delete that so that I don't have a task. And I said, you know what? Every video we do has these tasks attached. And I created this template, which I saved here under a new column that I called templates. Shock and surprise. We have an outline that has to be done. We have I have to record the video and give all of the resources for the URLs. The video has to be edited. The thumbnails have to be created. The titles and tags. This is our publishing process. Don't have to go through it now. You get it. And you see here we have pictures of each person that does it. Liz has to do certain things. Sophia has to do certain things. I have to do certain things. We're the three that basically put the videos together. So I just created this as a template. And now every time I have a new idea for a new video, I duplicate this, I just copy the task, I give it a new name, and it copies all of the different individuals and tasks and not the timing, all of their tasks through into the new video, the new task that's just been created. And we create a new task. And then what I do is I go through and I change the name to whatever the titles of the video is going to be. I add all of the resources and assets, because that's going to be unique each time. And then I just have to go through and pick a date that each of these tasks are due, and Bob's your uncle, we have a video in the queue ready to be made. Now, we still have to do all the work on it, but all of the tasks are there, and this has become the seeds that we plant that starts all of our videos. But I also recognized that I don't always necessarily know that I want to produce every video. Some videos I have an idea for, I create an idea for it, and then maybe it's going to fly, maybe it's not. So I added this new idea column, which is where the first place that all of our new ideas go, and I put it in there until I've got enough meat behind it, enough research into it, I've got enough energy that I've put into it to know exactly that it's going to be a good story. And then I can assign dates to it, and I drag it over into the production channel. At that point there's dates assigned. Everybody gets it in their notifications that they have a project to work on, that we have a video to work on. They go into the project, they see I've recorded the video, and they start doing their thing to the video. And now it moves through into the final published phase. So we've built our system based on good intelligence, good decisions early on. But by crafting it ourselves, we've made this the right decision. And it would take an awful lot to get me to move away from using this system now because it works for us. So, Steve, did you make the right decision in choosing Asana? Absolutely, I made the right decision because we have a system that works, that allows us to produce our videos on an ongoing basis. So, did I make the right decision? Yes, I made the right decision. How do you know you made the right decision, Steve? Because we produce videos very effectively every week, 4 times a week, using this system. Could I have done this using another task manager? Could I have done this in Trello? Absolutely. I'm positive I could. I could do it, and we might be even a little bit more efficient, but we will never know because we're not worried about it because this works spectacularly for us. When you choose any tool, once you've chosen the tool, it's not the company that made that tool's responsibility to make it work, although technically it has to work. I mean, they have to fix things that don't work, but it's now your responsibility to make that tool work for you. I think I learned this lesson most effectively when I went through all of the anxiety of choosing a CRM. And I was Entreport or Infusionsoft in those days that I had to choose from. I chose Infusionsoft and I dove in as deep as I could into Infusionsoft. And as I was learning every little thing I could about Infusionsoft, I realized the truth of the matter was that I'll never know if Entreport was a better product. But I was damned sure I was going to make sure that Infusionsoft worked for us and became the heart of our system that we could trust, we could rely on, we could build our system from. And I did that. We did that. So consequently, I made the right decision. I made the right decision because I committed to making it my responsibility to make the tool work for me. And that's the secret. That's the secret to making the right decision. Is it's your responsibility once you've made it to make it the right decision. Let's jump into questions. There we go. We are back. And look who's here. Look who's decided to join us. April. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? You can hear me. So you've got to fiddle around with your mic to make your mic work. But this is the best of both worlds. I've got you here, and I'm just kidding. Can I hear? No, I still can't hear you. That's a shame. You keep playing with that. I'm going to get in and start handling all of the questions. That was people are having technical issues. I don't know. It's funny how every once in a while the internet seems a lot more congested, and I kind of had a precursor to knowing that we might have some feed issues today when I was previewing a video. Liz posted into our YouTube channel, not public yet, just private, our video for next week. And I go and I review them, and I played the YouTube video, and I just now play YouTube videos and think nothing of it. Don't even consider that there could be internet issues anymore because YouTube just plays and plays and plays and with never a hiccup. I had to reload the video today. It didn't remain working. And so I was like, wow, that's something that's different. So I thought, oh, maybe we're going to have some issues today come webinar time. And there's been a few issues. There's been a few technical issues. So I think it's that due to internet congestion. There was probably a lot of traffic of somebody doing something online. Love all the comments of the fact that, no, we're being throttled into the US because Canada is now not friends with America anymore. How'd that happen? April, are you going to come back to us? You're going to try different things? You're going to, or are you, if you maybe, okay, you just keep going. And I'm going to jump into our questions here myself. Before I do, you've got time because I've got to tell people about what's coming up next week and about Patreon and all those sorts of things. So let me just, before we get into our Q&A, which we will do in a moment, let me jump in here and fill you folks in on what's happening. So tomorrow morning, I will send out an email which will have the webinar replay. That gives me the rest of the day today to tighten up and edit it a bit. It'll include any resources that we talk about through the rest of today's webinar. It'll be on YouTube. And as I mentioned earlier, play that back at double speed. And when you have it, because then it takes you half an hour to go through an hour of content and you get a little more information density. And I find that I can follow webinars just as well at that speed, but give it a try for yourself. Now, after 48 hours, that webinar is going to be taken down from the, I won't use the slides anymore. So after 48 hours, the webinar is going to be taken down, and then it's available for the benefit of all of our patrons at Patreon. Of course, dottotech is supported through the generosity of our supporters at Patreon. I'm going to put the URL in if you are interested. And there are a bunch of perks. So Patreon basically is crowdfunding for content creators. So it's how we support our channel and how we're able to deliver good tutorial webinars like this every week for free. And for $10 a month, you can become one of our patrons, support dottotech, show us that you love us, but also you get perks of half price for all of our courses, and you get access to our Webinar Wednesday archives. This is the 60th webinar that we've done, which covers the gamut of everything from email overload to what happens to your social media content after you die, a mini course on that. That's not the most pleasant one, but it's valuable information. We've covered the basis of WordPress. We cover off social media marketing, email marketing tools. We talk about, what did we do last week? We're talking about developing your first online course, online video. All of those tutorial webinars are housed in our Webinar Wednesday archives, which are there for the benefit of our patrons. So let me just drop that in. And to all of our existing patrons, thank you so much for your ongoing support. Next week, we are not going to be live with Webinar Wednesday because I am going to be down in Los Angeles at VidCon, hanging out with all the cool kids. And the following week, we are going to do a VidCon review. I'm going to talk about what I learned about the world of YouTube at VidCon. And I'm going down there with a business focus. I mentioned off the top of the webinar today that I'm kind of laser focused on now just getting involved in converting higher revenue from our YouTube channel. So it's going to be quite a business focus with that. I think you'll find it enjoyable and interesting. Good. So I can't hear you. I can't hear you, April. You were so happy to get back from all of the trouble that you had. I hope it's nothing that I'm doing on my side. No, I can't. I don't think it's on my side. Yeah, I don't know. You got audio issues with your computer. That's it. That's too bad. Okay, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to start taking the questions now. We've got time for Q&A, and let me go in, and I've got the Q&A chat here. There we go. So I'm going to go from now. If you do have questions, just make sure you click on the little bubble on the side, and then they pop over into the Q&A. So Debbie says, since you're already using Google, I think there's a way for me to broadcast this. How do I do that? I don't. Oh, there's it there. Broadcast comment to room. There it is. Since you're already using Google, do you use Drive, and what do you store in Evernote or Dropbox, and what that you don't store or capture in Drive? Okay, personally, I find Drive's file management to be a little bit more confusing than Dropbox. And because we started originally sharing all of our files in Dropbox, we just continue to use Dropbox for all our file sharing. Where we use Drive is in our collaborative documents. I love working in Google Docs. And when we're collaboratively writing any content, any sales pages, any email copy, anything that I do, especially with Sophia, we do that in Drive. But I don't typically use Drive's storage features, although if your team is comfortable with it and it does integrate with Slack and Asana, it's a great way to do things. But we use Dropbox as our storage system. So that's how we do it here. All right. Next question. Ron is asking, why do I like Asana better than Trello? And here's one of the great messages. You know, the lessons that I keep talking about, how you make the decision, the right decision, by how you engage and embrace a piece of technology. When we were changing our systems and reevaluating and redesigning how we were going to produce our content on dottotech was just when Asana had released a brand new version, a revision, which included those cards, which included the Kanban layout, which was very similar to Trello. And I'd used Trello in the past, like Trello, but I was doing a story. I was preparing a video in Asana about Asana, and as my head was already in the space of everyone's probably watching April, and just they're fascinated by April more than me right now, I think. As I was watching going through the capabilities of Asana, I naturally was thinking about what we were doing in dottotech and how I could use it. And I was developing as I was developing the story, I was developing the system. And it was just timing. That's the reason. If Asana hadn't released that update at that point there, I can almost assure you we'd be using Trello, and I'd be talking just as glowingly of how Trello would be working for us. So that's how I chose Asana. I don't think it's better. It just works for us. Okay. Next, Terry's asking, for communications about tasks in Asana, why didn't you use conversations in Asana? We do. Now, that's one of the big challenges, or not one of the big challenges. One of the points that I identified as something that I was hoping to improve on our team is how we manage our conversations. And when we're having project-based conversations, they do happen in Asana. But when we're having general dottotech and scheduling and strategy conversations, they happen in Slack, as does most of our day-to-day communication. So now, though, you've got the ability to integrate Asana and Slack. And should I try screen sharing one more time? I'm going to try screen sharing one more time just to see if it works. Because if it does, good on us. There we go. Let me share, and I'm going to see if this works. Because here, if you go into, this is our Slack channel right here. And I'm just going to see, is it going across? I'm just checking here. I'm just looking here to see if you caught up to me. No, it gets stuck on that one screen, so it doesn't come across. Okay, so I can't show this to you. But you can now integrate Asana with Asana with Slack, and you have, okay, turn screen share off. There we go. Okay. You can now integrate Asana with Slack, and so all of your Asana conversations are ported into Slack, and you can respond right within Slack. So we've got a much better flow of communication as a result. All right, Larry, this is an interesting question. I'm not sure I have the best answer for you for it. I've been looking for a tool that simulates a mood board. I don't really know what a mood board is, or a scrapboard book, like an analog book for designers to clip together text and photos and sketches and potentially move them around to create visual relationships, preferably Windows, Android, or web-based, and it's shareable. Does anyone have any ideas? Well, I wonder if the brain that was just been talked about is an idea, but I also wonder if just Pinterest. I wonder if you just use Pinterest, the social network Pinterest, which is designed to clip ideas and to put them into collections. That might work as a part of the solution as well. So those are the only two suggestions I have. If anybody else has another suggestion, would love to see it in the comments as we go along. Okay. Next. Do you use mind maps is a question from Michael. And we don't use mind maps. Every once in a while I dabble with them and go back to them, but I've done some stories on mind maps. I love the idea of mind mapping. And I think mind mapping, if you have a visionary and a leader that really works well in that environment, it becomes a phenomenal asset for any enterprise. And I've seen some brilliant use of mind maps, but I don't use them an awful lot myself. It's just not part of my toolkit. I think linearly, and I tend to use Evernote actually, and I write stuff out point form, and then I start to reassemble it. But I can see the value, and I'm always open to it. Okay, let's go on. Okay. Oh, Jill, you missed some of this session. Will the recording be posted? Yes, it'll come out to you. We will have a replay link sent out to you by tomorrow morning. Steve says, my work focuses on my iPad. So I'm wondering about tablet apps. Do Asana and Trello, for example, have tablet apps that are as usable as their desktop? Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Both Trello and Asana work fantastically in iOS and Android. They work just tremendously. So yeah, you've got really good functionality there. And that's one of the things that they're always improving. Yeah, that's a good way to do things. Val says, can you explain about privacy and permissions using all of these tools with clients and or distinct independent contractors working on different projects? Most of these tools that we're talking about, certainly Asana and Slack, have an inside mode and an outside mode, for lack of a better term. They have people that are part of your team that have access to the entire to all of the different forums or all of the different projects you're working on. And then you can also gate projects and bring in contractors and allow them to engage in the conversations. Sometimes you're going to have to upgrade to the premium versions of the products in order to do that, but you've got the ability in all of these team-based tools. That's one of the features of a team-based tool, is the ability to be able to bring outside people into your team, give them access to what they need, and not access to the rest of your content. So yes, That's all part and parcel of it, and it's something that you should look for. And certainly all the tools that we're talking about have that incorporated. Okay, Carrie says, what was the tool you demonstrated which used a browser to phone someone? A browser to phone someone. I don't recall. Was it in our YouTube channel, Carrie? I actually don't remember. Sorry. We've shown you a lot of different tools that are video conferencing tools like Zoom and appear.in. So we've got a lot of that. And you can phone people from Skype. You can set up Skype to do it. So those are all things that we've shown in the past, but I can't think of like a browser tool that connects just to the cellular or to the POTS network for making regular phone calls, other than something like Skype. All right. Steve says, although you run a small business, do you do performance reviews on your staff? Not really. We are constantly evaluating and talking about what we can do better. We've got a pretty small team, and so not really. And if you have a complaint, let me know. Do I have a favorite outlining tool from Carrie? Whatever I'm in, I kind of outline in. If I'm doing something like that, I would say I probably would use Google Docs, would be the one that I would use most. But you know what? I do a lot of outlining in as well, and I do a lot of outlining as I'm doing the narrative for videos, and I'll do it just in Keynote, which is the same as PowerPoint. I'll put outlines in as slides. And that's one of the ways that I'll work, because I'm so often, you kind of go back to the tools that you've used. And what is it? They say for a carpenter, a hammer is the answer for everything. And for a speaker, Keynote and PowerPoint is the answer for almost everything. And so I think that's more me than the tool being outstanding for it. But that's what I use for outline processing. I'll use one of those. Okay, Gentina. How I loved your video on new Gmail 2018. I have a question. I update Gmail on my paid business Gmail account. I don't use the paid version, so I'm not too sure what they've done. First of all, thank you for enjoying that video. That's performed really well for us on YouTube. I'm not too sure what the story is as far as how Google is implementing that mail client to their paid people. But if you want to check, the place to go is under settings. And if you are interested in getting more answers about that and you want to ask Google, obviously it's impossible to ask Google a question, but let me put in, this is my go-to resource. This is the most valuable of resources. This is my go-to resource for asking any questions about issues with Google products. It's the Google Products Forum. And when you post there, not only do people from Google go there to answer questions, but the community will answer your question there. That's where I would ask that question. Okay. Joan's asking appear.in. We showcased appear.in in several videos around video conferencing tools. It's a free tool that you can have up to 8 people on. So you can use it for little trainings, and it works very much like Zoom as far as having everybody in their individual windows. Works tremendously well. And I'm just a real fan of the product. It's called appear.in, and we've got videos on the channel about it. All right. Have I answered all of the questions? I think I have. Good. So if you have any more questions, drop them in now. Let me just go over to the chat here. Oh, Daryl's pointed out quite rightfully that if you have a G Suite domain, you can call Google support. I've never done that. But that would be one darn good reason. I've been put off of other comms apps, so much rubbish with WhatsApp, Messenger, etc., that I've heard Slack recommended a few times. Okay, Mary, you need to understand Slack is nothing like those other products. Those other products have elements that are in Slack as far as instant messaging, etc. But Slack is not per se a social network as a communications manager for an enterprise or for a business. So instead of using Messenger or texting or emailing. You focus all of your interbusiness communications into Slack. So it's far less social. It's far less random. It doesn't have, it's not manipulative like Messenger, where they're going to try and do bots and try and automate processes and try and, and there's none of that marketing and sales and advertising aspect to Slack. Slack is a straight up communications tool. That's like it's an intercom system for your business. So completely different. It's got none of those social aspects. You can invite people into it and you can incorporate people in, but it's not the random socialization that you get from Messenger or WhatsApp or all of those other apps. Okay. So yeah, look at it with completely different eyes than what you were thinking of there. Oh, good. Some people are saying that the Pinterest idea might work. Prezi. Oh, Prezi is this is for talking about the assembly. Well, actually, I shouldn't say what it is. Prezi is it's a heck of a good tool, but man, it's complicated to use. So I haven't seen all of the context there, so I won't comment on that. I'm just scrolling down through. Oh, we got more than Q&A. Okay. Please talk about Slack, Jeff said, and we just did. We just talked about Slack. So Ginny is asking, does it make a difference between MacBook and Surface for using Evernote and Google as an ecosystem and Insightly? I can't comment on Insightly, but if I had a Surface, I probably would go with OneNote. It's the Microsoft Surface ecosystem, I think, is better if you're on the Surface. It's just got way more functionality built in with all of the pen interface, et cetera. I wouldn't do the kind of the Google Evernote on Surface. I would go with the I would definitely go with the Google ecosystem, with the Microsoft ecosystem at that point there. And Insightly probably is going to fit either way. Insightly is probably going to be fine on either side. Okay, there we go. Will you be doing interviews, Philip, with patrons at VidCon? Will I be videoing interviews with patrons? I haven't thought about that. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do as far as recording while I'm there. I know there's lots of opportunity to do the vlog. I'm kind of intimidated to kind of start vlogging in the mecca of all the vloggers, of all the real service vloggers that is VidCon. But I probably will be recording some stuff. I don't know who I'm going to be meeting with yet. I'm still just kind of setting up and finding out who's there. But maybe if you're going to be there, let me know, and I'd certainly love to say hi. That would be awesome. That would be awesome sauce, as they say. Good stuff. Carrie, have you had any issues with Google Home Calendar? There are some serious issues with the latest update. Haven't noticed it. Don't use it a lot. If you're talking about using Google Home for putting in calendar entries, I typically enter my calendar appointments through my phone or through my computer. So I don't use a lot of talking to Google Home, if that's what you're referring to. But if there are issues, I'm sure that Google will straighten it out. That's a big part of their future product is Google Home. That's a huge part. The Google Assistant, which is the brains to it. So I'm sure they'll solve anything, especially with calendar, pretty quickly, or I imagine they will pretty quickly. Okie dokie. That is, let me go back to chat and see if there's any others, because I'm kind of jumping back and forth here. Okay, good stuff. I think that's going to be just about it, unless I see any other questions coming down the pipe. Are there any good video tutorials for Asana? Jim's asking. Well, we've got one. I haven't looked for full online courses on it, like full. One of the things about Asana is I think it's a tool that you probably don't need somebody else telling you how to use it, because you've got to make it work with your system. So I think that it's a bit of a voyage of discovery going in and, being curious, clicking on the different things, looking at the different systems, playing with it a little bit yourself to figure out exactly how it all works. Asana does have good tutorials on, they've got good corporate tutorials on, the basic functions. This is how chat works. This is best practices in those areas. So they've got all of that. That's pretty much all I think you need, is what Asana provides. You can learn an awful lot, and you've got to mold it to your will. You've got to make it work within your system. There's nobody else's system that's going to work for you using Asana. So I would encourage you just to take a look at their online tutorials that they have available. They're pretty good. Okay, we got more questions. This is all good. Are you or have you created a video on GDPR, the data protection regulation? Val's asking me. No, I have not. We've talked about it briefly. And so many people are providing so much context and content about that it's not something that I felt that a need to talk about for our community. So no, I haven't done it. But I will say one thing that I do say philosophically on the whole GDPR is move slowly. Don't panic. Take it one step at a time. Do the things that you can see immediately you have to do. Make sure that you've got the proper privacy policy on your website, that you have eliminated automatic checkboxes for people automatically being registered to mail lists. Do best practices for respecting people's privacy and move in the right direction. But don't blow away your whole mail list because you're concerned that it might not be GDPR compliant. If you're a spammer and you've been sending stuff out to people without their permission, et cetera, yeah, you better get on board. But if you are servicing a community the way we are now, everybody that's part of our mail list didn't opt in with double authorization, because way back in the day we didn't insist on that. I'm not going to delete those people. We send out good quality content that's got a reasonable mix of marketing and information. And we've always made it really easy for people to unsubscribe. We don't spam. If you aren't a spammer, you should be fine. And if you respect people's privacy and give them the option to opt out, you should be fine. And if moving forward, you make sure everybody is actively engaged in knowing exactly what information you're going to be sending them moving ahead, you should be fine. You follow those best practices. But I remember back when Canada changed its rules and the CAN spam laws came out, that a lot of my colleagues blew away mail lists that spent years building, and they didn't need to. So I don't think we should overreact to it all. Okay. Jerry says, have I got any thoughts on Notice? No, I haven't even looked at it. So it's a product that I haven't taken a look at. Would love to hear more about it, but I don't have any thoughts on it. Mary Jo, what's your preferred simple video conferencing program for newbies? Well, I think the most polished and for video conferencing, for doing meetings with people, appear.in is wonderful. It's web-based. It's rock solid, up to 8 people. You can't go wrong with that. But if you want a little more privacy, you want a little more certainty, Zoom would be my preferred product. Zoom would be the one that I would go for first. It's very easy to use. Now, the difference is Zoom requires people to load an executable on their computer, whereas appear.in works just in the browser. But either one of those would be great choices for you, I would have to say. Good. Oh, Val says, I explained the GDPR question well. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Carrie says, regarding passwords, are you aware of the Gibson Research Squirrel Project? Yes. I've just looked into to the Gibson Research Squirrel Project. They're trying to find a better way to manage passwords. And I actually just started reading about it last week. It's fascinating, but I don't know. I'm not enough of a security expert to know whether they're on the right track, although I imagine that those folks they're pretty sharp. I imagine that they've got a pretty good handle on what's happening, and it could well become something mainstream in the not too distant future. Philip's asking, do I keep a census of the locations of video views, Canada, US, North American continent? Yes. In Google Analytics, they tell us where our viewers are coming from, and I do pay very close attention to that. Currently, we have about 50%, nearly 60% of our total views on YouTube come from Canada and the US. Another 7% come from the UK, about 4% from Australia, and the rest are a mix from the rest of the world. So yes, we do, and I do pay attention to that. JT, is there a good handwriting text app? Google Photos. Keep is spotty. Good handwriting to text app. Google Photos keep is spotty. Yeah, I wouldn't use those as a handwriting to text. It depends if you're in Windows or Mac. What's the one that everybody likes? I'm just trying to think of the name. Somebody will type it in for me because I'm drawing a blank on it right now. Yeah, it's not coming to me. It'll come to me in a few minutes, but somebody will type it in for sure if you just hang around for a second, JT. There's a few good ones. Colin, is it possible to use a paid for domain with the free Gmail service? No, that's the main benefit of the paid Gmail service is you can have your own domain name and use Gmail. So it's not possible to use your own. I guess you could if you set up you've got to host it somewhere. So you've got to host that domain somewhere. But if you had it hosted somewhere else, you could forward your Gmail to it. But that's the main benefit that they give you in the paid system. So I would pay for it. $5 a month. Money well spent. I still can't remember the name of it. I still can't remember the name of the handwriting text app. Sorry about that. I'm sure it's going to come. Has anybody posted it? Let me take a look. Bamboo? No, I've heard Bamboo's pretty good. Good Notes? Okay, see, they're giving lots of suggestions. Not the one that I'm thinking. Yeah, can't remember it, but okay. Good, we're an hour. We have done well. And all of it without, missed having April. I bet you everything, we're going to figure it out as soon as we get off the call. Folks, thanks so much for spending this time with us today. Keep your eyes open for the email with the webinar replay. If there's somebody in your circle of friends who you think would value from knowing about dottotech and the free tutorials that we have, share the video when we send it out with them and let them know about us, and maybe they can join us for an upcoming webinar Wednesday and become part of the dottotech community. Penultimate, thank you, Linda. Yes, Linda comes through in the clutch. Penultimate. That's the one that I remember. I don't do handwriting stuff. I got to tell you right off the top. I don't do handwriting because my handwriting sucks. I think a keyboard, and far even better, is voice dictation. I like dictation. That's the way that I like to do things. So yes, penultimate. Thank you so much, Linda. But as I was saying, if there's somebody in your community who you think could benefit from being a part of our community, let them know about us. We appreciate sharing. What we're doing is we're trying to grow our community, grow our influence is always greatly appreciated. Thanks to April for trying so hard to get on and for managing the chat. I appreciate that big time. Anybody who is going to be at VidCon, let me know. It'd be super to meet up next week. Take a week off. The following week, we're going to be talking YouTube and VidCon. Till next time, I am Steve Dotto.